Good evening, everyone. I am Stephanie Coleman. I am the Autism Family Outreach Manager for Kansas LEND. Kansas LEND. LEND stands for Leadership Education and Neurodevelopmental and Related Disabilities, hence the word LEND. We are housed in the Division of Developmental and Behavioral Pediatrics at KU Medical Center in Kansas City, Kansas, but we do provide services and supports to families across the state of Kansas. So we are thankful for you to be here. If you're here live tonight, or if you are watching this later, we appreciate you and wanting to learn more about autism and law enforcement agencies in the interaction. So we have two individuals here tonight. We have the Undersheriff Matthew Kelly from Miami County Sheriff's Department, and then we have Amanda Randazzo from the Riley County Sheriff's Department. She is a supervisor, shift supervisor in the dispatch. So they are going to be sharing the programs that their departments have put together for families and individuals with autism and other related disabilities. I think this is such an important topic for all of us. My son is now 30 years old, but I had elopement issues with him in the past. And we've had interactions with police. So it's always good for me for knowing that other families are prepared and ready for these experiences. And to do that is to get to know your local police departments and sheriff's departments. Learn from them, let them learn from you and learn about your children and your needs and whatnot. So I'm going to share some more information later, but we'll learn about this. And I would say if you are in a town or a county in Kansas that does not have a program like what you're going to hear about tonight, I would encourage you to start advocating for one. Go to your local police department, go to your local sheriff's office and say, hey, my child is on the autism spectrum, and I would love it if you all would learn from other counties or other departments on how to best support my child in the case that something were to happen. So with that being said, I am going to turn it over to Matthew Kelly and let him share all about the Miami County Sheriff's Department's program.
Perfect. Thank you very much. And I am greatly appreciative that you invited us to kind of talk about what we've got going on and what's being done across the United States and specifically here in the Kansas City area and Riley County as well. And one thing that I want to caveat is we're still always learning on this. There's always room for us to improve. We constantly review what we're doing and trying to find better ways to do things. So kind of a little bit of background on me. I've been in law enforcement for 18 years now, been with the sheriff's office for 13 of those years. And I have been in my current role for almost 4 years now. And so I don't know if it was maybe 4 or 5 years ago now, we started just getting involved in autism awareness. We started with, making t-shirts, creating a patch, wearing badges that were blue, just kind of bringing that awareness to our agency and our community and donating those funds that we would raise off those sales to a local organization called Lake Mary. So Lake Mary is in our county. Their headquarters is in our city where our office is. So we have regular occurrences for calls for service for children or adults that are escaping from the facilities. If they're having outbursts at the facility and we have to respond there to assist. So there's constant interaction with children with developmental disabilities as well as adults. Additionally, Lake Mary has multiple housing units here as well that are even off campus. that they have individuals that live there as well. So even more of a residential need for involvement as well. So one day I was just browsing social media, I believe, and I saw a fire department in Ohio, I think it was, that was doing a program with a backpack. And inside the backpack were all kinds of different um, tools to use in case you did come across somebody that had autism or had some sort of adult developmental disability. And I thought it was a great program that they were doing, and they put it on all their fire trucks. So I said, why can't we do something like that here in our area, especially with what we have in our backyard? And at the time, also, we had an individual that worked for us that had autism as well. And so he was our IT director, and he had ended up having some uh, some issues that created him to become mute for us. And so that was a challenge in itself for us to work with him to figure out what we can do. He developed his own software to where he could communicate with us on a daily basis by just pushing buttons and using words that way. We made all kinds of accommodations for him, and that's really what got me involved in really understanding those that have those additional needs to help them with their daily life or daily interactions with others. So when I was working with him, I asked him, I was like, hey, do you think you would want to participate and work with Lake Mary, and we could bring something together for an awareness for our staff on how they could communicate with you better here internally in our office, but also how we could interact with the community as well when we have an incident that might be an emergency that we need to get information from them or help calm them down. And so he was on board, and we made a really big deal of it because it was a big deal. And we got the news outlets involved in the newspaper, and so it was televised in the metro, and it was a great program and a great way to get started. And so what ended up occurring is we had Lake Mary come in. We got a grant that funded all of the equipment to put inside the backpacks, and then Lake Mary donated the backpacks for us. And so we had Lake Mary come in, and then they talked about and they taught us how to use those items inside the backpack. And at the time, I just got them off of the Amazon, and they were like, fidget toys and headphones and whiteboards, sunglasses and hats and weighted stuffed animals and all kinds of stuff that you could put in a backpack. And the idea was that if we had to, that backpack could just go with the individual, and we did not need it back. So we had one that we put in every one of our patrol cars. We had a logo that was put onto our patrol cars that was our autism awareness patch that we had designed. And that was just kind of a reminder for people in the community that, hey, this patrol car has this autism awareness patch that's on the tailgate, and we're equipped to help with those that have developmental disabilities out in the community. Additionally, we had a little sticker that was made up, and I don't know if you can see it very well, but it says autistic occupant on it, and then it talks about how in case of an emergency, the occupant may not respond, resist, or run away, be nonverbal, be unaware of danger. And then we had like the accept, understand, and love on there, and then that it was provided by us. And so we would pass those out for individuals. They could put it on their car on a window. They could put it on their front door or front window of their house to let us know that when we showed up on a call, that we were just aware of those that were occurring. Since then, we have had multiple trainings with Lake Mary, and we have now Lake Mary has even created a better and bigger and better bag that we now have that has all kinds of flashcards that they've created. And so they went into this and started creating these things because of the program that we started, which was pretty cool to see. And it's actually grown to several other law enforcement and fire departments within our area that they've reached out to me to ask, what has occurred, how did you do this, where'd you get your grant funding, that kind of thing, so that they could implement that in their communities as well, which was really the whole goal. Like I wanted this to spread to everybody. I want all fire trucks to have them, all ambulances to have them, all patrol cars, because I'm not at every single medical call. I'm not at every single fire call. And they may need those resources at those types of calls that we may not be able to be at. Then a couple of years ago, we started a multidisciplinary group, the Miami County Mental Health Initiative. And through that initiative, we designed a form that is on our website. And actually, I just went to look for it, and it looks like it got deleted somehow. So we did an update, and it might have gotten deleted. So I'll have to look at that. But the form is basically a form that tells us all kinds of stuff that they can turn into us, that individuals that live at the house, what they might need, what they might be diagnosed with, whether it's, autism or it's just regular medical health issues, anything, so that when we respond, we put that in our CAD system, and we know that there is this extra paperwork that is documented in our CAD. So when we show up to this house, we have all this information readily available for us should we need that when responding. So that's kind of where we've started, where it's grown, and how we continue to utilize the programs that we have.
Do you provide officer training? Do you provide first responder trainings on top of it, or is it just
So we
having the
do
equipment?
No, we do mental health first aid, we do CIT training, and then we also do the training with Lake Mary. So Lake Mary also puts on training on how to interact and work with individuals with developmental disabilities, and then how to use the equipment that were provided. And then, like I said, all the other calls or other trainings that we go to for mental health and that type of thing too.
Is that a required training for all officers?
For us, it is, yes.
That's awesome. That's awesome to know that if they were to encounter anybody and I hope that continues to spread through all the smaller towns in Miami County as well. So that's fantastic. Before we go into any questions, I'm going to go ahead and let Amanda share information on theirs.
Hi, thank you. So first off, Matthew, thank you so much. You've already given me a bunch of ideas on stuff I can add. So I appreciate that. So a little bit about me as well. I've been a dispatcher for 15 years now. And 12 of those I've had my oldest son who does, sorry. My oldest son does have autism. So this is definitely near and dear to me as well. So we also had, sorry, like Stephanie was saying, we had issues with elopement and stuff like that. I have been here for 9 years now, and thankfully I did not have to start the program. It was already in place when I got here to Riley County. And the main reason that we started it was for people with Alzheimer's. So we were having a lot of elderly individuals that we were going out with, and they just were not able to communicate. And so we started this, like I said, it started mostly with adults with Alzheimer's, and it progressed to add the children and other people with the cognitive disabilities. So we are a little bit unique as well in that we do cover the entire Riley County, but we also have a lot of areas in Pottawatomie County that are within the Manhattan city limits. And we also have a lot of people that come in to our area for like K-State sports. And I know that specifically we have 2 individuals that are signed up in our program. It's called Project Guardians, if I didn't already say that. We have two individuals that do not live in Riley County, but because they're here almost every weekend during football season, they are signed up for the program as well. So it's really great. We have already had to use it once. We had an elderly gentleman that got lost at Bill Snyder Stadium, and we were able to put him back in contact with his family, who they were all there for the football game. But as far as training, our officers do go to like CIT training. We do have regular mental health training. I would like to expand that to do something more specific. I have gone to the various shifts and talked to them about the program, make sure everybody is aware of it, what information we need, what individuals qualify for it. But we do not have anything that is specific for our officers or for our fire department or for the EMS units. But we have a form that they can access on our website, or that we go to programs, we go to community events regularly, that we take printouts of the form. And so somebody can just take it from there. We also created business cards that on the backside is a QR code. And so people just have to scan that and it takes them directly to our website where the form is. So that's been very beneficial for these community events. They're easy to hand out and it gives everybody information that they're requesting. So after the initial form is filled out, then we go through annually and contact the guardian. We get updated information on the people. If they're driving, we get what kind of vehicle they're in. We have also, like you were talking about, Stephanie, with the traffic stop, we have had scenarios where we do like mock traffic stops for kiddos that are first learning to drive. And so it teaches them, that this is what to expect from the officer. This is what you should do. And it has been extremely beneficial to these kiddos. So they're not scared about driving. I know like my 12-year-old, he said that he never wants to drive just because of that aspect of it, that it scares him. So being able to do that has really helped us with the community. Let me see what else. The things that we ask for on our form, we want to know if they have any fears, such as touch, lights, dogs especially, because we have a canine with the police department. We also have a search and rescue dog with the local fire department. And we have a policy that if any time a missing person call comes in and the individual meets one of these cognitive disabilities, that we page out that dog unit to go help with search and rescue. So we need to know if they are scared of dogs or if they absolutely love dogs. Then, that's something that we try to get to the forefront as soon as possible. We also ask, like, how is the best way for responders to approach? So like my kiddo, if you start talking to him about Five Nights at Freddy's, then you will be his best friend for life. So we want those little bits of information so that we put that on the form. If we have officers or anybody, any of our first responders are responding to a call and we know the individual is in our program, then all we have to do is let them know which name number it is in our system, and we can give them the additional information over the radio so that everybody knows going out there, this is how best to approach them. This is their name. This is what they prefer to be called, things like that. And we also have up-to-date information for the guardian. So we call them right away as well and have them heading that way if they're not already aware. Our schools are really great about if it happened at the school calls the parent right away as well. But we also like to have that information for the officers to speak to them as well if necessary. We're very, when we talk to the guardians, we make sure that they know that we do not put hands on people unless it's absolutely a last resort. I know a lot of people are scared that some of the agencies, officers respond and the first thing they do is put them in handcuffs and put them in the back of a unit. And we try not to do that. We try to communicate with them, build a rapport so that we don't have to put the hands on, because we have found that that just has a tendency to escalate the situation versus de-escalating it. So that is one of the main things we do. We try to get them to go home on their own. Either we will walk with them or we have the guardian show up. We've utilized the fire truck and the ambulance before as a way to get the person home. The individuals may not always want to get into a patrol car, but I mean, if they get the chance to get into a fire truck, then yeah, they're all about it. So we don't have anything about follow-up or feedback, but that was also something that I didn't quite consider before, so maybe something that I can find a way to incorporate it in. So but I think that's about it.
So Amanda, a question for you is, you mentioned guardian all the time, several times.
Yes.
And I know it's called Project Guardian.
Mhm.
What if they're their own guardian? They don't have a guardian. Can they still obviously sign up for this program as an individual?
They can, yes. We just require to have somebody that we can contact, a family member, a neighbor, a friend, something like that. So we do have some adults that have signed themselves up for it, which is fantastic. We walk through it and explain, everything to them, but we do want that additional person that we can contact in case there is an emergency or we need some assistance with anything.
Sure. Sure. Does anybody have any questions off the top?
I did, and it was actually around, sorry, there's a lot of noise in the background. I apologize. It was actually around the having adults in the program, or fill out the program. If you have an adult with a guardian, do you still require the adult to have some say, or be a part of that decision making of putting them in on Project Guardian or having anything filled out like that?
We do.
Does that make sense? That was
It does.
it was very roundabout way to ask.
Right. No, I completely get it. We don't want family members to just randomly start putting in, like their elderly parents that they think have diminished capacity. So if they are an adult, then we also speak with them in reference to the program. If they are like so far gone on their cognitive abilities that they don't know who they are, or they don't know where they live, then the guardian has to have some type of power of attorney to show us this, or some type of, just like speak with the doctor, to say, yes, this is why we're adding them, for their own safety reasons.
Anybody else have a question?
And I would just add to that, we're the same way. And you can see on our premise alert that we even put, I actually did find it. I contacted my wife because she is the assistant director for the health department here, and the health department is part of our mental health initiative that we funded. We've created this form through that initiative. But anyways, in one of the check marks here, it says proof of guardianship, lawful power of attorney is required if this form is completed for a person who does not live with you. And so we had all this ran through our attorney. The sheriff's office itself has its own attorney, and we ran all this through him just to make sure that there was no issues that we were missing, and we're not just doing this and it's going to come back and bite us. The goal is to help somebody, but we don't want to make anything bad for somebody or worse than it already is. So we did get the blessing through our attorney on this as well.
Great. I am downloading all of these pictures
I did
as
too.
well.
And I also put links to both Miami County's premise alert form and Riley County's in the chat for the people who are on here now live, so you guys can see what those look like.
So do either of you do meet and greets and events? I know, Matthew, you said somebody had come to learn more about what would happen if something happened at home. And then Amanda, you mentioned the driving the car, having a fake pullover, an event. Do you do anything else in the community and in the public?
Yeah, so we did have a parent come in. I'll kind of talk about that since that was before we started this, but we did have a parent come in that had a child with autism. He was 8 years old, and dad has severe health issues. And so there was a concern that the child would not know how to use 911 or kind of freak out when talking to 911. And so we went through a whole mock 911 phone call. And then also brought him into the 911 dispatch center and let him see what it looks like and everything whenever that phone call comes in. And so we have it scheduled already in 6 months to do it again, so that it's in his forethought already, and see how he reacts after about a 6 month period. And then we're going to reevaluate it after that for that family. Outside of that, we partner a lot with Lake Mary since they're right here. And so on a regular basis, they will bring their children over to our office, and we'll do a little presentation for them, a little, come check out the police cars and stuff like that here at our office. I give them a swag bag of different things like bracelets and stuff that is safe for them to handle. And so we'll do that several times a year, different classrooms. And then they do a special touch-a truck at their facility as well. And so that'll bring in all kinds of different groups and, first responders and farm implements and things like that. So several times a year, we do have some interactions with them.
That's great. Amanda, what about y'all?
So anytime the police department does a community event, Project Guardians has a table there. We also do a lot with the fire department. EMS doesn't do a lot of community stuff. They typically just piggyback like we do off of everything. So we don't have anything specifically with EMS. We also, this last year, it was our goal to expand as much as we could, or to get the word out as much as we could to the various agencies or the various like businesses and homes and stuff like that. And so this last year we went, every month we would go somewhere. So we have been to all of the elementary schools. We even spoke with like the school board. We've been to all the nursing homes. We have our card and our, our card in a form at pretty much every hospital. At all of we have No Stone Unturned and Katie's Way. We do, they have all of our information. We've also done some meet and greets with them where they're doing like open houses, and we'll have a table there, and we speak to the parents and the guardians that come through there as well. So
I'm still watching in case anybody has a question live. If not, I can continue to ask them, and then I've got some information, more information to share as well. What happens? How does departments build trust if an individual that has autism has a crisis in the moment? And I know, Amanda, you haven't done training, and let me tell you, KU, we do some training for law enforcement agencies, so we can definitely get with you and talk to you about that.
Okay.
But Matthew, what techniques have or what things have been set up? I think you mentioned something about working with the Miami County Mental Health Department. So
yeah, so the Miami County Mental Health Initiative, like I said, is a multidiscipline team. It's first responders, it's the health department, it's the justice system, it is community corrections, it's all kinds of different people that are involved. But the biggest thing I think for us is just, I think there's sometimes people they're afraid to talk about, they're afraid to do. And it's just getting past that stigma. Just because somebody has autism doesn't make them any different than anybody else. It's going up there and it's interacting with them. It's taking the time. It's going through the training that we do. And that was what was really big for me is there were several, and me included, before we started this program that I didn't know how to interact, or I didn't think I knew how to interact. I did. I just didn't think I knew how to. And I think that was really big for me to have Lake Mary come in and talk to our staff and tell them how to interact so that they were more confident when they went out there and had to do that, whether it was a crisis or not, whether you're out at Walmart and a kid wants to come up and hug you or give you a high five, or, an adult. There's several adults in our community that have autism or some sort of a developmental disability that we interact with on a daily basis. And so I think recognizing that and making it more aware for them is how we continuously have to gain that trust. It's nothing that's going to be perfect, and we're always going to have to be working towards that. We'll have new people come into our community maybe they had a bad interaction somewhere else, and we might have to work on building that trust there. So it's a always evolving way that something that we have to do.
So I know in Johnson County, Kansas, the mental health department or community mental health centers will send out somebody with an officer to a call if they know that there's somebody with autism or whatnot having a really hard time. Is that something you all do as well?
That is something so we have a community mental health center too down here. Johnson County has Johnson County Mental Health through the county, which is really nice. I wish we had ours through the county, but ours is a privately funded organization, Elizabeth Layton Center. And it makes it a little bit more difficult working with them sometimes because, they're a for-profit organization and they're trying to find for-profit ways to do things. Yes, sure. Their goal is to help people, but they have to be able to fund it too. So we've had a little give and take with them sometimes working with the community mental health. That's why we've tried to do things ourselves to try to bring up. We've really worked on grant programs to help fund having certain people here to help us out. We have traveled to Arizona as a team to see how they do things down there because mostly for fentanyl use and stuff like that was down there, because this mental health initiative is multifaceted and it's all kinds of things. It's abuse of alcohol and drugs. It's all kinds of different things that kind of get wrapped up into that. It's helping the incarcerated when they get out when they get released from jail and making sure they have transportation and stuff like that. It's dealing with individuals in a crisis, whether it's a crisis because they're homeless or it's a crisis because whatever the case may be. And so we also went to DC and met out there, and we got a $100,000 grant that is still in limbo because of the administration, but we're hoping to get that funding to help us get what we really want is to have a caseworker here at the sheriff's office that can help with a lot of that stuff, not just internal with our jail, but also go out and respond on calls as well. And so that's kind of where we're at. That's been, a couple of years in the making, trying to get that going. Unfortunately, the funding is just difficult. So we don't do the co-responders down here. We work with Elizabeth Layton Center.
Right.
They do co-responders over in Franklin County. Elizabeth Layton Center does with the Ottawa Police Department, but we don't do it, and Johnson County does. So
That showed my privilege, didn't it? Because I just assumed all counties had the mental health, ran the mental health centers through their counties. So that was my privilege showing on that, living in Johnson County.
yeah, very beneficial having that for sure.
Yeah. Amanda, anything there?
We do have the co-responder program here as well. So it is fantastic. Unfortunately, just like everywhere else, they have problems hiring somebody or keeping people. So at this time, we have one co-responder, and she only works, I think, like 10 to 8, Monday through Thursday. So unfortunately, we don't have that, but we also have the mobile crisis unit that we can contact to help us out with that. We also utilize our school resource officers. If we are out with a school age kiddo that is on the spectrum or is part of Project Guardians, our school resource officers will come out after hours and help us if need be, if we can't get a hold of the guardians. So we have those. We can also take them to the crisis stabilization unit if necessary. And they do have therapists that are on duty, I believe 24/7, that can, if nothing else, help screen and create a safety plan for these individuals. So.
Oh, great. So just a couple of programs I want to highlight here in Johnson County in case somebody's watching and lives in Johnson County or learning for other counties as well. They have the Take Me Home, the Sheriff's Office has the Take Me Home program. You can just Google Johnson County Take Me Home and the program will come up, and you can, it's kind of sort of like the Project Guardian, I think, in a way. Where you can register the individual to get home. But something that has just recently come out, and many of the police departments in Johnson County, the city, because I know Overland Park, and I know Gardner, I live in Gardner, Kansas, and they have it. They have what's called a blue envelope program now, which is really cool. And so the blue envelope for individuals who are driving, I think it's really cool because they don't have to have a sticker on their car that just says, hey, autistic individual in there. People don't want to have that, right? But they can put their information in a blue envelope. So when an officer, if they do get pulled over, they have that blue envelope, and that alerts the officer to knowing that this individual is autistic. So there's those programs. A few years ago, our LEN trainees actually developed a couple of documents, and I want to share this one really quick. It's 6 pages, and I'm going to share it as well. But this is something we talked about. My son, when he was younger, eloped quite a bit. I'm trying to figure out how to make this. Nope, that's not what I wanted to make bigger. Here we go. Well, now let's see this up here. So this is what to do and be prepared for in case your child elopes. And a lot of the things we talked about this evening with Matthew and Amanda about meeting with first responders. Some other things to think about as well is securing your home, because sometimes those kiddos do get through when you're vacuuming. We had a family friend who stepson, she was vacuuming, and the stepson eloped when he was 6 years old, and unfortunately went next door and got into the pool and sadly drowned. But if you have some of these things to secure your home, obviously be safe about it as well. You don't want to lock people in to your home either. And I think this is really important, is the swimming lessons. So when the first time my son ever eloped, I found him across the street. There's a little stream, and he was up in a tree with just nothing but a t-shirt and a diaper on. It was cold out during that time. And all of his clothes were down the stream, his shoes, his socks. He doesn't like anything wet. That next week, I enrolled him in swimming lessons. There are swimming lessons that are specific for individuals with autism or disabilities, but my son went through just the YMCA swim lessons to learn how to swim, because I knew I lived in apartments at the time. I was going to college. And so I knew he could elope and get into the swimming pool. So it was really important. And it is a well-known fact that individuals with autism, when they elope, sometimes the best thing to do is first go check the waters, because they are attracted to the water. So I encourage that. Enroll your child in the Take Me Home program, or your local sheriff or police department programs. Have identification tools. Some people you can put a tag on a shoe or a wristband with your contact information. If you do a card with picture, make sure you update it annually as your child grows by leaps and bounds. Some law enforcement and schools provide ID cards, so check them as well. And then GPS, if it is a child who continuously elopes, get an Apple AirTag. I think that's what they're called. I actually put one. I actually put one on my dog, because when we first got him, ran off all the time. So on the back of this page, and again, this is beforehand, if you do have a tracking device that you use for your child, put that tracking number down here to have ready. Have your child's diagnosis, identifying marks and behaviors and medical needs, and suggestions on how to approach your child. Like Amanda mentioned, does the child like a dog or not? And then the emergency contact information as well. And then there's a team, like if your child goes out, but you have a team that's ready to go out and look for that search. So you can put this together and have these ready for law enforcement. And here's this thing, what to do during an elopement to ensure your child arrives home safe. The biggest thing is, when your child elopes, you're not thinking straight. You are worried. You are scared to death. You're not thinking. You don't know some of these things. So if you write them down and do them ahead of time, these are all documents, and I'm sure some of the ones that the sheriff's office have shared tonight will have some of this information on it as well. If you don't have that, you can use these. But just have them updated once a year, every 6 months, depending on whatnot, and leave them on your refrigerator. So if you call them, if you have to call 911, then you have all of this in one spot and be ready. So, being able to share the information, identifying information and pictures and diagnosis with 911, searching by the water first. Where are all the waters? Sometimes the people who are looking don't know about your neighbor's pond, especially if you're in the rural areas. Sharing the information with law enforcement, requesting an Amber Alert if that's needed. But here is this on the back side. Again, attach current photo, the individual's information, all of their prescription medications, their other relevant, like no sense of danger. My son had no sense of danger. He was attracted to water. if they are prone to seizures, having all of this available, calming methods. How can a first responder calm the child? You know, does a fidget or a weighted blanket or toy or something like that help them stay calm? All of this is great information to share. Have your emergency contact information of somebody else so that the officers can help you contact your spouse or the other parent or a grandparent or a good friend. Ways of preferred communication. Is this a child that is nonverbal? You know, do they need a picture board? Do you have a picture board that's already ready that can be taken with the officer? If they are verbal, are there words or sounds or songs? You know, a lot of times songs would bring a calming effect to them. Do they have any tracking information? And then, you know, after that is settled and your nerves have calmed and everything is relaxed, what to do after so that this doesn't happen again? So trying to figure out, work with your psychologist or your doctor to figure out what was the immediate, you know, what happened right before the antecedent, what happened right before this elopement happened, or do they just love to run and explore, or you know, put down the date and time where they were found, so that might be one of the first places they are will go and look for them when it happens again. Find a behavioral analysis, get a BCBA that can help figure out how to support that so it doesn't happen again, and create a plan that works for your family. On the back side of this, we do elopement and behavioral log, so that while this is happening, again, you're not going to remember in the moment the last time they eloped. So if you put this down, where the child was prior to the event, where they were found, other notes, again, these are all things that are going to be able to support officers, first responders when going and helping look for your child. So this is a document and I have it to share with those of you live. There is that document for you. But those are all the things that I would consider when thinking about this. It's so important for our children to see first responders, law enforcement officers. I know what's happening around the country right now, but it's so important to know who they are so that when it happens, they're going to know the officers that are coming to find them. They're going to know the first responders that might be coming because there's a fire or an accident or something like that. So I cannot stress it enough. And you know what? Don't put it all on the officers. Why, you know, go to your local coffee shop and say, hey, would you be interested in if we partner together and I invite all of my community and friends to come here and have coffee, and then we invite a couple of officers to come. Don't put it on them, you know, share in that support. Support your officers in any way you can because they want to make sure everyone is safe and everyone comes home at the end of the day safe and sound. Any questions from anybody here? Okay. Any last parting words from our speakers tonight? I can't tell you how much this means to me as a parent that you know, Amanda, I know this is personal for you. And so you want to continue to grow in that. And Matthew, I don't know if you have a personal connection. You didn't mention that, but if you don't, I appreciate you all the more for your openness and willingness, and having the rest of the department open to learning and being prepared to support our individuals with the acceptance and the love and the support, as you mentioned. So.
No, I just appreciate that you guys invited us to be a part of this. I think it's great. I saved that document and appreciate Amanda sharing the information that she has. Definitely want to review this. I want to bring the Blue Envelope program to our community. So I've already been looking into this. I'm trying to find somebody or a grant that's going to help just pay for all the envelopes, and we could just do it as a county-wide program with all the PDs and on the envelope with the sheriff's office instead of each individual organization having their own. If I can just fund it all and then just disperse the envelopes to the different communities. But no, I really don't have a personal connection to autism other than at one time I had an employee that had autism. He no longer works for us, but that's what really got my involvement and sparked my interest to learn more to better serve those in our community, especially with having such a large presence in our community of those with developmental disabilities.
So I'm going to add to families here a big request and suggestion for you. When I said, hey, work with, like in Miami County, I know Lewisburg has the cider mill. Maybe you can do something with the cider mill and do it as a fundraiser to help support some of the costs of these items that the departments need. So, you know, anytime you can do fundraisers for these things, you know, I don't know all the ins and outs of the requirements from the county's expectations for this, but I'm sure they would take donations of the equipment and stuff like that. So I'm sure if you did a fundraiser and raised enough money to get the blue envelopes printed, that would be a welcome support as well. So, Amanda?
Same thing. You know, I appreciate being invited to this. Definitely, like Kelly said, this is something that we're always learning about. We're always trying to perfect. So hearing from you and hearing from him and hearing, you know, what you guys are doing really brought a lot of ideas on how I can better the program here as well. So I really appreciate that.
Yeah, and I'm glad that we were able to bring rural counties into this because, again, I can provide everything from Johnson County and Wyandotte County from a Kansas City perspective, but Kansas is way more rural than it is urban. So it's really important. And it's important for everybody to know that there's interest in there and that just that there's interest. So small counties, you can do things too. And I know Matthew put his contact information. If somebody were wanting to do this in their small town and they've approached their officers and the officers are like, well, we don't know what we're doing. We don't know how to get started. Would it be okay if they provided your contact information to those departments to reach out to you?
Absolutely. Like I said, we've already been doing that with others in the area, so I'll be more than thrilled to be able to share what we've done.
Amazing.
Oh, definitely. I've actually expanded our program to one of my former agencies, which was down outside of Baton Rouge. So, you know, I'm going as far as I can, you know, give the information to everybody that I can, because it's just, I think it's really good. It's something to help, you know, those individuals. So.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you both. For those of you on here or watching later, thank you for joining us. Thank you for spending some time learning about these programs and learning how you can make your child safer and support them. Next month, I think we're doing something around dental. I will be sending an email out about that soon. But again, thank you everybody for joining us. We appreciate you and have a good night.
Thank you. You too.